Welcome to the Breakfast Leadership Show, where we interview global thought leaders on business, leadership, and life. Here's your host, keynote speaker, best-selling author, and chief burnout officer of the Breakfast Leadership Network, Michael Levitt.
Welcome back. I've got Dhruv on the line. Avadhi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Really looking forward to this conversation because you've done a ton of stuff and you got a new book that's out. So why don't you share a little bit about you and then we're going to jump into the conversation.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Avadhi. In the spelling of my name, the second A is silent. So I always like to clear that up. And I'm the author of two books. My first book, Inner Genius, Outer Guru, is a heart-centered entrepreneur's guide to unlimited potential for growth in income and freedom in lifestyle without burnout. And that one was and is an international bestseller and is available on Amazon. And this year, I'm releasing my second book, just releasing in July. And the second book is The Family Business Guru, which is a secret guide to alchemize conflict into harmony, lead with confidence, and generate profits. So altogether, through my books, articles, consulting packages, coaching programs, transformational healing sessions that I do, and the video content on my YouTube channel, I help business leaders achieve unprecedented growth along with freedom in their lives so they can experience the ultimate bliss of inner fulfillment. My clients range all the way from budding entrepreneurs to owners of multi-million-dollar companies. And I'm passionate about empowering growth in the outer world with the success and fulfillment in the inner world. So that's a little bit about me.
That's amazing work and congratulations on the books and the work that you are doing. It's desperately needed in this world. And I was thinking about the new book and there's some connectivity to the first one, especially when it comes to burnout, because I think in family ran businesses, and I remember my first job was actually at a family owned grocery store chain, and the family, ran the business, from the father or the uncle and cousins and all of that. And in today's age where more and more people are biting into that entrepreneurial spirit and launching businesses, in many cases, the entire family gets involved and there's some dynamics that come with that. It's not the same as you launch a business and you partner up with some people and you build the business out and all that stuff. When you start getting family involved in there are some interesting dynamics that you highlight in the book that can can really cause an organization to be successful, but it also can cause it to really have some difficult times just because of the dynamics of working with loved ones and family. So love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yes, absolutely. I have firsthand experience with this because my grandfather started a business empire that my father and uncles and all of the second generation took over and grew for many years. And then I'm the third generation in my family with my cousin, brother, and other cousins. So I grew up in a business family, and being the third generation, I've seen the family dynamics, the generational differences that also often come into the play, but also personalities and just the different personal relationships and how they can affect the business when they're not actually related to the business, but they still come into the picture while making business decisions. And it can be family businesses can be a one-way street for people where the family members, like my father always said, that you have an entry, but you don't have an exit, because you can't just quit the business, because it also in a lot of ways feels like you're quitting on your family and family members and loved ones. And it's a very, very different dynamic than any other regular business that one could think about. And it is tricky. The relationship dynamics get really tricky, especially when there are many generations involved too.
Yeah, I can imagine because especially with generational work, and I talked with John Shepard a few weeks ago about the multiple generations that are working in organizations. You can have baby boomers all the way to Gen Z, and then of course Gen Alpha is not far behind from joining the workforce. So I'd anticipate we're going to have a ton of different generations, and in a family situation, there's a distinct possibility that a niece or a nephew or a daughter or a son could start working in an organization, and you have multiple generations. And what we find is, well, there's a lot of commonality. Obviously, being all from the same family is one thing, but viewpoints and how things should be done, that's a really interesting dynamic because I think while there's passion for businesses that aren't quote unquote family ran for the business, and we've done it this way and we've been successful at this, there's some family pride that gets into the mix, and sometimes there's this level of trust or maybe lack thereof that someone that's relatively new to the business, if their idea would be successful. So I find in many organizations, when there's some open dialogue and at least consideration of some ideas and concepts, that helps navigate through some things. But sometimes in the organization, and especially family run ones, that could be challenging because some people may or may not be willing to consider other viewpoints.
Yeah, the thing about family businesses, I love family businesses and families, the fact that family members have a lot in common, and because they are part of a family unit, there are some family values that they automatically adhere to and bring to the business that can really benefit the business and even the team members, the employees that the business employs and the customers, the clients that the business serves. It's natural for a family owned and family run business to inculcate those family values and bring them to their customers to where, the customers also feel like they're part of this family. They're not just a number. It's not a numbers game. It's more heart-centered and service-oriented and values-oriented business that they are part of. And those are really good benefits to family-owned businesses. I'm part of one, so I know for sure that we have great culture that we've cultivated in our business. And at the same time, I see that there's a lot of fears that can be crippling a family owned business. And a lot of times the fears are unconscious. The family members may or may not be fully aware of the fears that are probably running the show under the surface of their conscious awareness. Sometimes it's a fear of losing a loved one's relationship or losing something that they value because they feel like for example, one of the fears I had with me in getting involved in my family's business was my brother and some of the money beliefs that I had were that when I have a really close relationship with my brother and personally, but when money will get involved with the business dynamics and cash flow, somehow that'll affect our personal relationship and it'll cause any misunderstandings or distance, and I'll basically lose my brother. And that fear of losing that loving relationship and the bond I have with him because of my limiting belief around money and how that could that be detrimental to our bond, which actually doesn't have to be that way, which I've learned over time now. I've overcome that limiting belief, for example, but having that limiting belief in my unconscious awareness, not being consciously aware of it, has held me back for a long time from making the kind of difference that I could have made in the family business that I am now making. And now being aware of that unconscious fear I had and overcoming that through transformational work that I now do with my clients, that I did for myself, I'm able to be a part of the family business in my fullest capacity, speak up with my ideas and my truth and my decisions that I feel like should be considered in the business, and at the same time enjoy a very, very true and authentic, loving, most beautiful bond with my brother personally as well. And I think that's one of the examples of the kinds of fears that can come up when doing business and having to make business decisions when with loved ones and family members involved.
You bring up, it reminds me of a family restaurant that I frequent quite a bit that's not too far from me. And, they've been in business, I think 14 years now. And from, the owner who's, one of the cooks to the wait staff that are, either a spouse or daughters of, the owner and whatnot, you feel that, that family connection because you're supporting a local family that's running this business. But there's also the nuances of it too when the the waitress brings or the waiter brings in the food and there's something wrong with the order. Maybe they didn't cook something right or they didn't put the right thing on the plate or something like that. And they'll make a comment like family members sometimes do in jest, but it's kind of comical. And I remember one time when the dad came out to take our order because the daughter was running late, and then she came in, running in late, and I said, "So, has this been how she's always been?" He just shook his head and he said, "Yeah, ever since she was little, she's always running late." But I knew that dynamic because it's a family thing, and it connect. There's a connection to it, and then they look at he looked at her and she said, "Don't even start with me." And it's like
Mhm.
it's just an but it was loving, of course, and it was then they everything was fine, but it's that little dynamic that helps connectivity and connection with others. And I think that's where in business, when you're doing business with a company or an individual, the human connection side of it is so important. And I know your book touches on this. And even going back to what you said about your brother, you've got this undertow of and you called it a fear. And I look at it, yes, it is a fear, but it's also kind of a framework of behaviors like, okay, yes, this particular situation is upsetting, but I want to protect the sanctity of my relationship with my brother. So I'm going to do whatever I need to do, and hopefully my brother will do the same to make sure that no matter how this particular incident or issue sorts itself out, that it doesn't damage our relationship. And I think there's a lesson to be learned with that, even if you're not related to a client or a coworker or your supervisor. If we approach work and life in the, yes, we have a disagreement on this matter, but I don't want to say anything or do anything that would potentially damage the relationship. I think if we go into things that way, I think it's going to be a healthier thing for everybody involved.
Absolutely. That's why my book is all about creating harmony. And I talk about alchemizing conflict into harmony, because it's those relationships that create true wealth in any business, not just family businesses. But there is so much to learn from those family relationships and how we naturally approach them in a family situation, and how what that teaches us to how we can approach that in any business, and how that can actually help the business grow and flourish and create that fulfillment for all the people involved with the business. So yes, you brought up a really good point there about how important relationships are. And it's important to consider how our behavior impacts a relationship that can impact the business, and actually the business's profits for many, many years to come. And this is a much more longer term approach to success than like a quick, making a quick buck here and there, and a very short lived shiny object syndrome type of success. And this also affects the part about leading with confidence, because when there are supportive, loving, caring, and just harmonious relationships around, it actually boosts the confidence of everyone on the team. And especially the leader feels more supported by their team, and therefore leads more with confidence. And as they lead more with confidence, the better team members they are surrounded by. And it's just a natural, harmonious process, where I usually sum it up when I say this, that harmony has money in it. Like, quite literally, the word harmony has money in it. And figuratively, creating harmony in relationships through all of our behaviors, and even the policies and procedures in a business, how those are designed for success, they literally contribute to more profits and just long-term success for any business. So that's what I talk about and go much more in depth in my book. And I'm so excited to share it with the world.
Yeah, that's a very important book. And I love how you've referenced alchemy a couple times, which, is, a key component of that word is refining. And I think businesses constantly, family ran or not, need to refine how their business is to continue to meet the growing demands of their customers and what they need, and also internally as well. And in looking at it as, and this is something that I talk to with people a lot when they say, I have all this work, I'm never going to be able to finish all my work. And I asked them to reframe that a bit. And I said, that's actually a good thing in a way, because if you're never finished with your work, that means you always have something to work on. And that means it gives you that opportunity to be creative and produce and make great things for your clients, your teammates, whatever. So look at it in a different light. And I think that's, a key point in, throughout your book, especially with the harmony. I love the money analogy and the word harmony. That is awesome. I definitely will make a note, and if I say that, give you full credit for it, because that's so true. Because organizations that do well are doing well because they're operating in a harmonious state. Things are flowing, things move, I don't want to say seamlessly, but a lot easier, because they've taken the time to make sure that things are in place to allow people to thrive and be their best and have all the things that they need, or most of the things they need anyway, to be able to be the best they can be. And when you have that and you get all of that in sync with everybody else, then a lot of times I say it's not work. it's more play and creativity, and those are some really healthy organizations. And it definitely sounds like with the work that you and your family have done has made that possible for your own organization. I know it's not easy, but the the easy things are too easy to do and they're not really worth doing. It's the hard work that ends up making things easier for everybody in the long run.
Yes, yes. And I always say this, which is work hard, well, work hard on self-improvement and work smart everywhere else. And that what you said that's totally in alignment with that, is that the easy things are really not really worth doing. And it is hard to work on the inner world, but it's totally worth it. And that connecting with the inner spirit, and that's where I bring the spirituality angle to all the work I do, and I talk about those concepts and how they apply in the real world in creating tangible results through my books, through my YouTube videos, everywhere, because it is hard work in terms of it takes a commitment to look within and connect with the inner spirit, the inner genius that I call it, to really tap into that flow, that creativity, that harmonious place from within that then overflows into the flow, creativity, and harmony outside in the relationships with other people, within the business, the revenue growth, profits, and just harmony all around. And that's where I think that taking the time to really dig deep within and find that harmony within, and then create that overflow from there in the outer world is so, so important and critical in today's world. And that is a very important piece of my message through my books and my content for sure. And I'm sure you encourage your viewers and clients and everyone you interact with to do some of that on some level for sure.
A healthy person, a healthy organization makes for better products and services for all of humanity, and that's what's so important. So, Avdi, I've loved this conversation. Where can people find out more about you and this amazing work you're doing?
I've loved being here, and they could just Google me. I'm everywhere. If they search my name, Avdi Dhruv, on Google, they should find my website, which is www.avdi.guru. And I'm on the socials on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and most prominently on YouTube. So if you're listening right now, definitely go over to my YouTube channel and subscribe so you don't miss any of the high value content videos and healing meditations that I regularly release on the YouTube channel.
I'll definitely have that in the show notes. So, Avdi, thank you again for your time. And thank you, more importantly, for being you and this amazing work. The world is better because of it. So, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Breakfast Leadership Show, part of the Breakfast Leadership Network. Visit breakfastleadership.com for tips on empowering your business and your life.